What's up, everyone? Welcome to Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Barrett, coming to you live from PG County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories behind being a college coach, this is the show for you. Being a former assistant men's college basketball coach for 16 years, there are so many untold stories behind the scenes in the life of a college basketball coach. Now, let's unmask them. Today's guest is a longtime assistant, a bright star in the business, a future head coach, and also a PG County native. PG County, Maryland native, right from Bladensburg, Bruce Shingler. So I'm going to give you a little bit about his bio, and then we're going to get right into the show. Bruce finished his playing career at St. And I would say I was in the CIAA myself, so I remember it as St. Augustine. Everybody else says St. Augustine's. And then from there, he ended up, out of college, he ended up coaching at Bladensburg High School. Then he went to Kansas State for a year, and did a great job out there for the year that he was there. Coached with DC Assault several years, had many prospects, pro prospects, college prospects, and he did a great job coaching their 17 and under team while he was there. And then he ended up going to Morgan State with Todd Bozeman for a year before heading over to Towson University for 4 years. And then now he's currently at University of South Carolina with Coach Frank Martin, and he's doing an outstanding job. I just want to say welcome to the show, Bruce.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, Lamar. Thanks for having me. Obviously, it's a pleasure being here, being with you. Obviously, I look at you as, kind of like a mentor in the business a little bit, a friend and a mentor, a guy that, when I entered the business, you were coaching, you kind of walked kind of the same path I walked through PG County Public Schools, and we was always had the privilege to, shouting each other out and watching each other journey. And so, as I'm a part of this thing for you, I want to also express my appreciation to you and what you've done to not only the sport, college basketball, but what you've done for the area, Prince George's County.
Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate those kind words, man. So like Bruce, let's just gonna get right into it. Let's go ahead and get unmasked. First thing I open up the show with is like, there's no handbook to being a college coach. Like I'm gonna say college coaching and being a car salesman is like similar. Like when I say that is no one tells you what to do. They just throw you in the fire and say, get it done. So when I say there's no handbook, tell me about your first day, first week, first month after things are done with human resources and orientation, like especially when no one gives you direction. Tell me what's that like. It could be whether you were at Kansas State, when you went to Morgan or Towson, but tell me what that was like.
Yeah, and I mean, you make a great point. It's just nobody gives you a handbook and say, hey, this is how it's done. It's kind of like being a kid, at a new school in a new district from a new neighborhood, and you enter in a new school, and it's like, you got new classmates, and you got to figure out how they learn, where they come from, and how you're gonna be able to adapt to that environment. And so I always compare, going into a new situation, a new university. I spent, a year at Morgan. I spent 4 great years at Towson University. I spent 4 more years. I'm on my 5th year at South Carolina, which, 3 different programs, 3 different levels. You're talking about HBCU to the CAA to now the big SEC, the Power 5. So, it's just like entering a new school system, and obviously you're talking about from Baltimore, Maryland to Columbia, South Carolina, the adjustment that you got to make just from a social standpoint. So it's just, and nobody gives you no handbook. You just got to go, like you say. I've always been told, you got to figure it out. You know what I mean? You got to figure it out on your own. And I think it's like, that's the way it is in life. You just got to figure it out. And as you go on your journey and you go through it, figuring it out it comes second nature.
I agree with you. Like, what was your best or worst, or best and worst recruiting story?
I mean, it's so many good ones. I guess, always. I think for me, I've always been huge on seeing kids that that overachieve. The ones that wasn't supposed to be. Where they at. And one good story I always use is Rodney Magruder. When I was at Case, when I actually, when I had just got to K-State, and obviously Denante Hill and Frank Martin were there, and they brought me on. They were recruiting that class, and obviously the big fish in that class was, Wally Judge, who I had a personal relationship. In the area, you had Thomas Robinson, who left Eastern and went over to Riverdale Baptist, but he was like, he was a big name, a McDonald's All-American. So it was some good names in the area. And and I had just came off of coaching Rodney and Wally, early in that summer, watching them grow. And when I got the job out there at K-State, I would sneak into meetings because I wasn't an assistant at the time. I was an administrative assistant. I was like, I had just got a position. I just wanted to coach. You know how the business is. The business is, if coach asks you want a job, if it involves basketball, I don't care what it is. If I need to answer phones or, just rebound, I just wanted to get in. And so that's what we talk about, that journey, like what it takes to get in. No job was too small for me because I just wanted to get in. And so, like, I'm in a meeting one day, and I know Teo laugh at this one, and Frank will laugh at it as well. We get to talking about recruits and the guys in the area, and obviously, it was obvious. Everybody wanted Wally Judge. He was a McDonald's All-American. He was a top 25 kid in the country. And so, like, I'm sitting in the meeting like, yeah, Wally's good. You know what I mean? But, like, what y'all think about Rodney Magruder? And so, like, they would be like, it wasn't like a bash on Rodney. Don't get me wrong. It was just like, I don't know. Is he better than this kid? Is he better than that kid? And me, who had a personal love and a personal feeling for Rodney, was like, hell yeah. I'm saying it to myself. Now, at the time, University of Miami was recruiting him pretty hard. Pittsburgh was recruiting him pretty hard. But, like, I'm personally like, come out here with us, Rodney. You know what I mean? So, like, it got to a point where, the recruiting started to pick up. And, Rodney was like, do they really like, how it is? Do they really want me? Or do they just want Wally? Or am I just a throw-in in the package deal? I said, Rodney, I don't give a hell what they think you are in the package or whatever, a throw-in or whatever. Wally's a good player. He's a McDonald's All-American. But in my eyes, I believe that you can play at this level, and I believe that you're going to be a star at this level. And I guess when you talk about the stories, let's fast forward to now. This guy is one of the better defenders in the NBA, and he's getting paid to guard some of the best. When I watch him guarding the guy, the likes of James Harden, and you give me all the scores in the NBA. You talk about a kid where when he was 16, 17, I know there were a few coaches that didn't think he was good enough. And so it's stories like Rodney Magruder and recruiting when you think like, damn, man, you know what I mean? It's stories. The Rodney Magruders of the world are the reason why I love this game. The reason why I love this game, because you talk about a humble kid who wasn't caught up in the hype, but was caught up in the grind. He was caught up in getting better. It wasn't going to be about could he score more than you. He was just going to outwork you. And there's a reason why he's a pro and a pro's pro, and wherever organization you stick him in, he'll find his niche to get on that team. And so, like, from a recruiting standpoint, at the time, I wasn't even an assistant coach at the time. But at the time, I put my voice in that office, in that meeting. It was like, if y'all don't recruit Rodney Magruder, y'all crazy. Y'all crazy. And so, like, that's one of them stories. And to see him achieve, to be the player that he is, love him to death as the day. I've talked to him maybe twice, 3 times a month or so, and just check in on him. But, like, those stories, watching those kids reach their dreams, that's the reason why I chose this. That's the reason why I fell in love with this sport.
Awesome. What do you remember one of your worst ones? Like,
let me think of my worst one. This one would be good. I guess the worst ones was when, you know what I mean, you recruit a kid for so long and you so invested in him, and you think that, like, you think you all in, and you just get hit right over the top of the head with a ton of bricks because you done built the relationship, you got the insides and the outsides of it, and you think you all in, and then you get that call, or you see that tweet or that IG post that they chose another school. So, like, I don't think I have a worse. I just think, like, investing that time and energy and effort in a kid that you really think that you should get, and you just get hit in the head with a ton of bricks. Like, oh no, Matter of fact, I'm going to Kentucky. I'm going to Duke.
Trust me, I know that one. Said Lindsay is mine. I still haven't like lived
I
up
love
and down.
Said Lindsay. You know, that was. So who did you battle in that recruitment?
It was actually Richmond. Richmond was a battle, and it was tough. I was at Brown End, and it was like, you know, his dad actually loved it. Like the kid liked it. They liked the, you know, especially afterwards playing, and then was afterwards, and then it came down to us in Richmond, and he chose Richmond at the end of the day. He had a great career. I can't go wrong with it.
And then that's the thing for me as a young assistant, and if Frank would, you know, Frank, especially lately, Frank would be like, you know, what are you, you know, what you down about? You know, why you mad? You get what I'm saying? Like, for me, it's personal with me. You get what I'm saying? And I'm like, because we should have got him. And then what happens is when you don't get him and then you go see him play and you got to play against him, and or what hurts the most is when they do go and they don't succeed the way that you thought they could succeed. And you know, if you would have had them, they would have been in a different position. Them the ones that hurt the most.
I agree with you. Now, this is what people don't understand about this business, Bruce. You've been in it, you know, for a while now, especially like the amount of commitment you put in. Like, people don't realize, like, you're basically working 355 to 360 days a year. Like, when you're on vacation, you're really not on vacation because you're talking to kids, setting up stuff, like you're doing all of that stuff. But what did you have to give up achieving your current level of success?
You know, and that's what happens is, and what we're going through right now in this pandemic, obviously with the coronavirus, and then, you know, obviously now with, you know, with the social injustice and things that we're going. But what I had to give up in my journey to get to the point where I have is you lose that relationship with your family. You know what I mean? And like that time and that commitment. And you don't put it in perspective because you're you moving so fast and you forget sometimes that like the true value of what you owe your family, that time that you owe your family. And I'm thinking of it for me. I got a 13-year-old son who wants to be a college basketball player. And I always think about it like, damn, I spend more time caring about other 17 and 18 and 19-year-olds and them getting to wherever they want to be and reaching their goals. And then I got a 13-year-old that deserves the same amount of time and the same amount of energy. And so what happens is when you sit back and you reflect, you're like, damn, I should put more time and invest more time into him because, you know, but when you get so caught up in the job and like you say, you see it, you know, 365, it's every day. You on the clock. At 3 o'clock in the morning, your phone might go up and you might wake up out the middle just to see, damn, I hope it's not a text of a kid telling me he going to another school. You get what I'm saying? And then, you know, so it breaks your cycle. And then I always make this comparison, Lamar. It's like I compare college coaching to like Disney World, right? So when you go to Disney World, you know, Mickey Mouse is in a costume, Goofy, Daffy Duck, whoever you may have it, they all in a costume. And their job every day, 365 days, is to entertain and make sure Disney meet their quota. That's their job. Their job is to put that mask on, and no pun intended, mask, but put that mask on and put that costume on and put on a show for whatever, the millions, the hundreds of thousands. Same thing with us, and not knowing not 1 ounce of what's going on inside of that costume. And nobody really never knows what goes on in that costume or the amount of sacrifice and the amount of work. All they care about is filling them stadiums up and the wins and the losses. And then the unfortunate part about it is when the fans stop coming, they bring new characters. And you get what I'm saying? And so they can care less with what's going on inside of your mask, your costume. All they care about is you performing. And so, like, my thing is, like you said, it's an unbelievable amount of energy, sacrifice that it takes. And a lot of it is your family, sacrificing the time from your family. You know, you miss birthday. I'm pretty sure you done miss valuable birthdays. You done miss, you know, my son's birthday is July 26th. Anybody know July 26th is the prime recruiting Vegas trip? You know what I'm saying? So how many July 26th? I'm just not there to wake up and give them a hug and tell them happy birthday.
Well, my wife's is July 23rd, so I totally understand
Yeah,
that. You know
get it. You get it.
So that's a pretty good answer. And I'll say this, like I laugh at this a lot because people don't understand it, but like, you know, when you get into scout reports, it's your scouter. You know how you can tell if you're watching TV or you're watching the game live, you can always tell what the scout report is. But and then like you could do your best scout report and have one of your worst losses. You can do your worst scout report, have one of your best wins. But what was your best and worst scout report?
How about this? I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. You know, because I take a lot of pride and you know, as an assistant, and you know, because you know, at the end of the day, you know, we all do it for the sake of the team and the value of the team. But there's a certain type of like personal, you know, personal thing to it where you like, man, I want to make sure these guys are locked in and ready to go. Like I want to make sure that it like no rock will be unturned. You know what I mean? We're gonna get all of them. We're gonna make sure I know the walk on. I want to show I want to show you the guy that hasn't even played. I want to show you what he did in high school 2 years ago, just in case he go out there and make 2 threes. I can say, I told you he was going to shoot. He was a shooter. I saw him make 6 of them in high school. So from a preparation standpoint, my scouts be important, not only to the team, but for me. So I take it personal. So here, I'm going to give it to you right now. This past season, I had a big time scout in Tennessee. And Tennessee was, you know, I've had them for the last 4 years now. Rick Barnes is a hell of a coach. And like, for me, it's personal. It's a personal scout with me. And I know the assistant that scouts us. So I'm watching him and looking for a play call, and he watching me, and I'm calling it out. So it becomes personal. But Tennessee, you know, beating Tennessee and having our guys ready, and obviously, you know what I mean, like having them prepared gives you that fulfillment. And you like, man, yeah, we crushed them. SEC game, they top in the country. We need this win to stay alive. We on the bubble. Boom, this year. Big time Tennessee win. And then you lose to like a Stetson. And no disrespect to Stetson. You get what I'm saying? No disrespect, because they actually was the better team that night. They came and won. They beat us. And I got the Stetson scout report, and I'm the one that's, you know, like that's sitting there like, are you serious right now, man? Like are we really doing this? And Coach Donnie Jones did a really good job of having them dudes prepared. Like I'm cool with that. But let's keep it 100. We're not supposed to lose no damn Stetson. You get what I'm saying? That just don't happen. You know, it's not supposed to happen. And so then when them games over with, and you look at that and like, man, you start questioning yourself on the ride home. It's like, did I not tell him that this dude go right? Did I not tell him that this is going to be their Super Bowl game? Did I not tell him that this was going to happen? And those are the games that hurt you the most, because then you look back down in this March and they talk about, you know, bubble, and you talk about bad wins and good, you know, bad losses and good wins, and you know, and you look at that and you like, damn. And so that's that scout report thing, man. And those 2 stories just this year, man. We lost to Stetson, and I almost felt like just clotheslining the whole team.
I feel you. I've been there, because like you said, you question yourself, but then like the guys just didn't come and play. And that's what people don't understand. You're thinking on 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids to feed your family. And I come in the locker room, I'm like, yo, man, you trying to get dudes fired around here? You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys ain't coming to play.
Yeah. And I say the same thing, like, bro, like they like, man, you tripping. No, you tripping. You get what I'm saying? Like, this how, hey, like I said, like, you guys got the luxury, you get what I'm saying? Like, now you can enter the portal and y'all can leave and find another school and do what y'all want to do. Bro, we lose, I got to find a job. So, like, every time I'm on my way home, I'm like, when the day going to come that I'm going to pull up at Home Depot and ask them for an application, because it's time for me to, you know, find another job. You know what I mean? Because that's the reality of it. It is what it is. Like, you know, we predicated on wins and losses. That's the business.
No question. What's your the biggest challenge you have experienced since you become a college coach?
Being Black. You get what I'm saying? Like, I think that's the biggest challenge, you know, and like I'm not gonna make this no race war or anything, but it's hard. You know what I mean? It's hard. They give you it's 351 or 7 of these Division I jobs. You know what I mean? And they open up, you know, maybe a small percentage of them are open up each year, and even another smaller percentage of those being African American or minority are getting those jobs. So the challenge is every day trying to be the best you can be as an assistant to even be qualified to even when one of those jobs open up to just be able to get in that race. And I think that's the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge for me is every day waking up, figuring out how can I outwork that next guy that's in line who, like me, I'm not a big self promoter. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
I don't call the writers and ask them to put me on the top 40, under 40s, or I don't promote myself. I'm not a me guy. You know what I mean? So now I gotta fight through the politics. I don't know who runs the search firms, and I don't have an agent. I represent myself. I let my body of work represent me. You get what I'm saying? And I feel like if I just outwork you, I'm gonna be able to put myself in a situation. I think my body of work, my resume, where I came from, will show you that all I know is work. You get what I'm saying? And the blessings of God. And at the end of the day, the biggest challenge is every day being a Black assistant trying to make it in this business and trying to survive. And I give Perry Clark all the credit in the world. Perry Clark, obviously, you know Perry real well. You know, he just announced his retirement here. You know what I mean? He's been coaching for, you know, over 40 years in this business. Not to mention a head coach at 3 different locations. Texas Corpus Christian, Tulane, University of Miami, and then being an assistant here. And obviously all of his assistant experience under Bobby Crimmins at Penn State. You know what I mean? So one thing, and that's why I just brought him up, is the longevity of his career being Black. You get what I'm saying? Like being Black, making it 40 years in this tough business that we're talking about, that's cutthroat. This is, and people, like I say, it ain't no we got your back business. This is cutthroat. And any opportunity a guy can slice your head off, they're gonna do it because they want to be where you at. It's the first sign of, you know, hatred is, to me, a defense mechanism. Somebody want what you got. You get what I'm saying? And if you ain't sharp enough and you ain't on top of your game, you gonna get got. You know what I mean? And so my thing is, I use the likes of Perry Clark and see his longevity, his success. And I always joke with him all the time, like, I want to be like you, man. If I can make it to 70 years old and max out at the highest level on my way out the door, I had a hell of a run. And me being under 40, just grinding, he the type of guy that I look at like, damn, man, like, you can say what you want and how he works or what he does, but he survived. And surviving this business is hard, bro. Hard.
Totally agree with you, Bruce. Like, I always say this, like, he's one of the, I mean, I don't know too many, and I always say, not too many retired assistant coaches in this business. That usually don't happen in this business, retired assistants. So.
No, and not look like us. You get what I'm saying? Not look like us. That's what I'm saying. And I'm, like I told you, I don't make it black and white. I just make it facts and fiction. You get what I'm saying? And the fact is, it's harder. It's hard just being Black in America, let alone being Black in this small fraternity that, you get what I'm saying, that the opportunities ain't just given every day.
Correct. Now, do you ever find there are things about you that people misunderstand? Like, what are they? Anything?
You know what? You know, I mean, like I said, back to my original point, I don't really, and I guess it was from my upbringing, I've always been a, like, to myself type of guy, you know what I mean? Like, I don't do a lot of talking, you get what I'm saying? I don't really have, like, a bunch of friends in the business, you know what I mean? So, like, for me, I think sometimes, you know, because I don't communicate or maybe don't build that friendship, like when me and you get on the road, we at a Peach Jam or we at something, I connect with you. There's a connectivity. I feel comfortable. I can sit with you and have a genuine conversation. But you know what? Like, my thing is now, like, I'm more of the, like, say less. You get what I'm saying? Say less, do more. And sometimes I think my quietness, you know what I mean, my quiet demeanor maybe misrepresent me wrong, but I just kind of just try to stay in my lane, and I just do it the way I do it. And I think sometimes people look at me and they look at the way I made it through it, and they, the likes of DC Assault, and then I got with Frank and Kansas State, and it's looked like somebody gave me something. You get what I'm saying? Like I didn't earn it. You get what I'm saying? And somebody they look at it and like, oh, you just because you was with DC Assault, that's the reason why you got a job. You get what I'm saying? That ain't the reason why I got a job. The reason why I got a job is because I'm good at what I do. You get what I'm saying? And that's what I think. Sometimes people put that AAU tag on you, and it makes you lesser of a coach because I came from grassroots. You get what I'm saying? But what it does is make me understand that there's different levels of coaching, and there's a special gift to being able to relate to these kids, being able to understand how they think, being able to know how they feel about certain situations. So like, I just sometimes think that like people put the AAU background on me and say that, my success wouldn't be my success if I didn't have, the likes of DC Assault, or I didn't have the likes of being with, the great players, the Michael Beasleys, the Nolan Smiths, the Wally Judds, the Rodney McGruders of the world. At the end of the day, we still got to coach them. You still got to prove it. You get what I'm saying? Ain't nobody just giving you a job because you're a nice guy.
Totally agree with you on that. And I'm gonna go to this. So you, like, regardless, you've been coaching, and a lot of people don't realize you're still educating kids all the time. And I always say this when parents used to bring their kids to campus. I'm like, listen, you've done a great job of rearing your kids. And I use the word rearing because I don't say raise. Raise is what you do to cattle. You don't raise kids, you rear kids. So what I say is you've done your job 17, 18, 19 years. You bring them, you drop them off. My job for the next 4 or 5 years is to have them go from a young man to a man, because these are going to be the most important years of their life. They're learning to be out on their own. They're going to deal with probably more adversity here. Like it's going to be different things in their life, but it's going to teach them how to grow up real quick.
Yeah.
But what would you try to teach your players besides basketball?
I just, obviously what wasn't taught to me, and it's partially what we going in and what we're dealing with right now with society. Part of it is the common denominator is education. That's the common denominator. At the end of the day, I always believe that education is your common denominator. I believe that hatred connects with the hood, like the hood mentality. You get what I'm saying? And I also believe that like education is your common denominator. So to my guys, to the guys that come in here, like, I just don't want you to, come in here with aspirations of just playing in the NBA. You get what I'm saying? Expand your horizon a little deeper than that. You get what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, let's look at the numbers. The numbers and the stats don't lie. You get what I'm saying? The stats don't lie, that it's a small percentage that make the NBA. You get what I'm saying? And even another smaller percentage that just go make some money playing basketball. So what I do is like, let's educate yourself. Financial literacy, you know what I mean? Like financial literacy, learning what a stock is, learning what loans is, learning what equity is, learning the true value of your dollar. Because at the end of the day, what I wasn't privy to, I was raised by a single mom. You know what I mean? My dad was incarcerated pretty much my entire life. So my mom just had to work. So I learned from her just work, hard work. But what she wasn't able to be able to teach me is how to turn a dollar into $5. The only way I knew how to turn a dollar into $5 is the way the hood dude taught me. And I ain't want no parts of that. You get what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, when I get these dudes now, I'm teaching them how to, like, at the end of the day, not only when you get a job, how to keep a job, and not only when you keep a job, how to make your money grow, so that when you're 40 years old, you can put your feet up and you can teach the rest of the generation how to continue that wealth. So I think financial literacy is important to me, Coach. Very important to me.
Hey, that's great stuff. That's what a lot of these kids have no idea. I say that. I think we and I said this, and I can use, I know you guys recruited Zion a year ago, but like some of these one and done kids that come through here, like, yo, teach them, they're going one and done, like, teach them how to manage their money, teach them how to market. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to teach them those things, you know? So what are your best and worst memories in coaching?
I mean, obviously, my best memory I gotta give to that Final Four run. You know what I mean? Like that Final Four run, I can never forget that one. That's by far my best memory as a coach. You know, and you think about that. That was my first year at South Carolina. You know what I mean? I had just left Towson. I went straight to South Carolina and went straight to a Final Four. And that whole Final Four run, starting when we played Marquette in the first round, all the way ending playing Gonzaga to the final seconds of the Gonzaga game in the Final Four. That memory, that 2.5, 3 week stretch was a memory that I can't, like, that's like one of my best memories as a coach. Best memories as a coach.
And the worst?
You know, worst, you know, for me, I never look at a worst moment. You know, I always try to find the best out of every moment. So, like, I really don't have no worst moments as a coach. You know, I mean, it's a lot of bad losses. You know, a lot of situations. But like worst moments as a coach, I really don't. You know what I mean? There was you got me on that one. You stumped me on that one. I really can't think of a worst moment as a coach, because I mean, God has blessed me with so many great moments. I feel like I can't think of a worst moment.
I got you. Hey, we'll move on. What was and I'm gonna ask you this, because now you may not be able to answer this question. I like what you said. You know, God has blessed you, but like, what's the most stressful situation you probably faced?
I think the most stressful situation that I faced was my transition from okay, I was at K-State, right? And I left K-State to go to Miami to help Bees out transition with his first couple years of the NBA. And obviously for me, 25, 26 years old, living in South Beach, you know what I mean? Like, you can't find a better situation. You get what I'm saying? But then you start putting things in perspective, and you like, man, I don't know how long I can do this. This is fun for a month, maybe fun for a year, but this ain't gonna be fun for a lifetime. So, like, you know, my thought was getting back into college, and you know, like, I think that challenge, that span from when I left Miami and came back home, I went back to Bladensburg and I helped Coach Butler back at Bladensburg again. And then I also went back and coached, you know, my DC Assault 17 and under team at the time. That was Quinn Cook, that was Damian Lee, that was Marcus Thornton, that was Prince. I mean, I had a nice Jordan Goodman, Jerome Seegers. That was that team. And I remember, you know, my biggest challenge was getting a job. You know what I mean? Like, now leaving Miami, I'm ready to get back into business. What am I going to do? Am I going to get a job? And I can remember this story, and it's a couple of them. And these are good ones. You're going to like this one, Lamar, because people always think it's always you just get hand-delivered stuff. You get what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm coaching them. I get a call from Ron Everhart, who's an assistant right now at West Virginia, who's actually you know, a good friend of mine now. And he had a job opening at Duquesne. And so, you know me, I said, all right, let me get in the car. I got up, I drove from Laurel all the way up to Pittsburgh, right? Sat in there getting ready for this interview, you know, sat down there with Coach Everhart, spilled my heart out. I wanted the job, told him, you know, I'm ready. I want to coach at this level. You know, he asked me basketball questions. He asked me personal questions. He asked me recruiting questions. He asked me the whole nine. And I left Duquesne, left Pittsburgh excited. Actually, Ray Brewer, who's my cousin, who I love to death, would take over now. Ray went up there with me, was my riding partner, rode up there. I was excited about it. I went up there, did the interview. You've been in so many different interviews, so you understand it. I'm in the interview. He's interviewing me. He's doing his due. He's spitting, doing his little dip and all that while we're doing the interview. So I'm just like, all right, cool. So I go in there and the interview went well. He's like, all right, cool. I went there. I went on like a Tuesday. And so he said, Bruce, give me to about Thursday. If I don't call me, I'll call you. You know what I mean? I remember it to this day. Don't call me, I'll call you. I'll let you know what I'm gonna do with the job. So Tuesday goes by, Wednesday goes by, Thursday goes by. You're looking at the phone like, damn, I'm not gonna get this call, right? And so Thursday goes by, you scratch your head like, when I'm gonna get the call? No call. So me, I'm listening to what the man said. Don't call me, I'll call you. I went up there, I told you I wanted the job. I never got the call.
Wow.
Never got a call back. Never. And I was crushed, but it was the first really low blow to me in the business where it was just like, damn, you could at least call me and say, you know what? I'm gonna take somebody else, or I'm not qualified, or I'm not the guy for the job, whatever it may be. But these are the things you learn. I'm 20. I'm still 20. I'm a young buck, so I get it. So, mind you, you remember in Indianapolis, they used to have that tournament in Indianapolis. I think it was an Adidas tournament in Indianapolis. Played at the high school Eric Gordon and all them went to.
Yeah, I know it's one. It was a three-stripe type of tournament. I remember the
tournament. So we out there playing. I got my team. We pull in. Typical DC assault stuff. We late. It's probably like 4 minutes on the warm-up clock, and we trying to get in the gym to warm up. Typical DC assault. And so we go in, and as we running to go in the gym, you can see the coaches. You know how AAU is. Coaches going in, players going in. We going in, and look who I see. Ron Everhart. So I'm in there and I'm running to the gym. I say, hey, what's up, coach? You could tell it looked like I hit him with some bricks. He like, hey, Bruce, what's up, man? Make sure we talk. Let's grab some lunch. Gave me that one. I said, yeah, we talk, coach. And as humble as I am, we go in the gym. Look who's looking at our players. Old Duquesne is sitting there, and I'm loaded now. I'm loaded. Now I probably only got maybe 2 kids that probably can play in the A10. The rest of them are, and maybe 2 or 3. At the end of the day, Marcus Thornton and Damian Lee end up being CAA players, but they also NBA players because they could have played at higher levels. You know what I mean? But they decided to go William and Murray, Drexel respectively, and tore the league up. You remember those nights, you know what I mean? But the point of my story it's just like, when I saw Ronnie, I didn't get the job, but he introduced me to a part of the business people don't see. You get what I'm saying? And it crushed me. Now, the person that I am, it is what it is. It's a learning experience for me. And like I said, when I first brought it up, me and Ronnie are good friends. You get what I'm saying? I talk to him every day. And one thing he said to me, which could be true or not true, it is what he said, is, Bruce, I probably should have hired you. I was wrong in the way I handled that one. You know what I mean? And I respect that as a man. At the end of the day, whatever you did, how you did it, I respect that you at least acknowledge the fact that, dang, you did me wrong. And so, like, when you talk about, some of them stories, those are one of the stories that, like, stick out to me when it comes to, like, recruiting and then dealing with this business, dealing with both sides of the business.
That's good stuff right there, man. But I mean, you know what? It prepares you for everything else too.
Absolutely, absolutely.
This is gonna be kind of interesting because like people laugh at it a little bit because you've been around, so you would know. But like, what is the strangest thing a player has done outside of the basketball court?
Well, the strangest thing a player has done on the court. First, let's start with that one. Let me go with that one. Bill Walker. We playing K-State, and Bill Walker, we playing against Oregon, and it's about a minute, maybe 2 minutes left to go in the game, right? Frank calls a timeout. I don't think he has no more timeouts. I think maybe one or down none. In the game, in the heat of the moment, Bill Walker, says, I got to go to the bathroom. It's 2 minutes left. By the time you run to the locker room and do what you got to do, game is over. In a timeout, we trying to huddle him up. The man is peeing in a towel. In a timeout. I was like, this is the craziest thing I ever saw. Yeah, and I embarrass my guy Bill Walker because I love him to death. Not that but it was like that was the craziest thing I saw in the game. But outside of the game, dang, you always give me with these tough ones right here. These tough questions. Like the craziest, I done saw some crazy stuff basketball-wise outside of, you get what I'm saying? Come on, man, DC Assault, man. We done had so many crazy stories with DC Assault. You get what I'm saying? I done seen, I done seen epic fights. I done seen, it's so many crazy ones. Think of one. You got to catch me up on. I got to come back to that one.
We'll do that. We'll say that one for the end a little bit. Listen, man, you've worked for Frank twice, and I'm gonna say work with. I hate, people like, man, I worked for it. No, you work with them. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like, no, you work with Frank, you work with Todd, you work with Pat Scarry. You've had some good guys you work with. And I think like I said, I think you're a bright star. I think you're gonna be a head coach, somewhere, sometime. And I'm not even counting those guys, but if you had a chance to work for anyone in men's college basketball, who would that be and why? That could be whether it's an AD or you going somewhere else and working for a head coach.
That question was brought to me, and there's two people that I really would have maybe enjoyed to work for. And the two, one is the Hall of Fame Eddie Robinson, and this is on a football level. You get what I'm saying? And I'm thinking about him and the fight that he had to fight, breaking all the barriers as a coach to get to. You get what I'm saying? Those Grambling teams of being, not just a powerhouse in their conference, but a national powerhouse. And for him to get NFL guys at Grambling, I think his story, he's a guy that definitely I would love to just watch his grind, watch him be able to, because you talk about hatred now, you get what I'm saying? Imagine the amount of hate back then for him as a black coach, football coach in the South. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's what that's one. And then I would probably, John Chaney's and John Thompson's, you get what I'm saying? Those guys will be guys that I grew up a Georgetown fan. I always wanted to be a Hoya. You know what I mean? I used to wear, my long sleeve shirt under my jersey just because that's what the Hoyas did. You get what I'm saying? I used to, have my Nike flights with my black socks because that's what the Hoyas did. You get what I'm saying? So I was always a Hoya. So I was always a fan of Big John Thompson. And Georgetown was always that place that even to this day, it crushes me to my heart to know, when George, for instance, whenever there's a job opening at Georgetown, it crushes me to my heart that I can't even get involved with it. Even if I want it or not want it, just the fact that I love the job, I love the Hoyas, it's I would love just, And so John Thompson, Georgetown, I've always grew up loving that. And so I think John Thompson and Chaney, definitely John Chaney and Eddie Robinson are the guys that I would love to just because of watching their struggle, and watching how they broke down so many barriers to give a guy like me an opportunity. If it wasn't for guys like him and guys like, Coach Robinson gave guys like me an opportunity.
I love that answer. Listen, you talked about the Final Four, and it may apply to this question, but what was your biggest accomplishment you have experienced since you have become a college coach?
Um, I guess the biggest accomplishment um, is to see, you know what I mean, to see the smile on my kid's face because of what this sport with basketball, with being a college basketball, has done for their lives. You know what I mean? Like I say, I always say this all the time. I'm blessed. You know what I mean? And I don't put a dollar amount on my success. You know what I mean? But the fact that my kids smiles every day, wakes up every day, not having to want for anything in life, and for me being a small kid, little skinny kid from Bladensburg, Maryland, that grew up in a one-bedroom apartment. You get what I'm saying? To just give my kids an opportunity to not want in life. I think that's my biggest accomplishment, and to help them grow so that when they become mature adults in this world, they can look back and say, man, I appreciate that my dad's grind, which forced me to be able to get a 4-year college degree and be able to come into life debt free and whatever you may have. So I think that's my biggest accomplishment. And that's the thing that college basketball has done for me, is give my family an opportunity to have a better life than I had.
Awesome. This is gonna be funny. Like, you might think a little bit, maybe you don't. But like, what movie or TV show title best describes your week?
My week, best TV show title to describe my week is or movie, I would say Survival. You know what I mean? Like Survivor. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. Like this, it's tough, man. It's like every day it's about survival. You know what I mean? So like, I think Survivor is the one for me. Like that, I remember that TV show is kind of, I don't even think it exists anymore. But like, that's what I think about. That's the first thing that just came to my head, because this business, man, it's all about survival, man. It's all about waking up that day and being better than the guy that's trying to get you. And I always think about, like, they talk about the gazelle and the lion. You know what I mean? You're gonna be either one of the two. You gotta wake up and be the gazelle, and you gotta outrun. You know what I'm saying? You gotta outrun them, or you gotta be the lion, and you gotta go eat, because one of the two. You either gonna eat or you gonna get eaten. You know what I mean? So it's tough for the gazelle or it's tough for the lion. You know what I mean? So surviving is the word for me.
Awesome. Most people have one. Might have been your assault days, or since you've been coaching in college basketball. But what's your favorite word or phrase?
My favorite, I guess my favorite phrase is or word, I think, is commitment, right? And I feel like it's commitment, because commitment can go, and you can attach commitment to apply to everything in your life, and not just basketball. You get what I'm saying? Commitment to your family, commitment to your job, commitment to God. You get what I'm saying? So like, when I think about a phrase that always applies to my everyday life, I think about that word, and that's commitment. And I think that's a word, when you commit yourself to those things, your family, your job, to God, I feel like there's success that comes behind it. You get what I'm saying? I think for me, having an unbelievable commitment to my family, having a commitment to my job, which requires my boss, the AD, the president, whatever it may be, even the players on our team, down to the walk-ons, to the managers, having a certain level of commitment to them. I think that applies to my life. So, having commitment would be the word, because it just applies to every dynamic of my life.
Okay, like that. You work, like I said, you work with some good guys. You've been around some good guys. I mean, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
No job is too small. You get what I'm saying? No job is too small. I think that's the advice that for me, that helps me helps me make it through. And that's the advice that I would give my kids, I would give the players, I would give another young coach who's trying to come up in the business. I coach 10 and under AAU basketball. I coach 10 and under. 10 and under. Like I coach, you get what I'm saying? So like nothing was too small. I coached 10 and under where I didn't get a paycheck. I didn't get a dollar. I did it out the kindness of my heart. And not to mention, Lamar, if you think about my 10 and under team, I always like to, because people think, oh, it's 17 and under. If you don't coach 17 and under, you can't be a college coach. I coached 10 and under. And I built unbelievable relationships with those 10 and under kids. Unbelievable. And let me tell you, let me run off the list of those those 10 and under roster that I had. You ready? You
Yep.
probably do you know this, Lamar? Do you know?
I probably know a lot of them.
Okay, so on that team, I had Tyler Brailsford, who was going to George Washington University. I had Mike Sumner, who just signed to go to Chipola Community College.
Moose son, yeah.
I had Jay Heath, who's the starting, who almost, I think he won, I want to say top 3 on their team in scoring last year as a freshman at Boston College. I had Ishmael Leggett, who is going to Rhode Island. You get what I'm saying? I had Terrence Williams, who signed to go to Michigan University. This is on my 10 and under team, not to mention. I had Hunter Dickinson, who just signed. You get what I'm saying? And to this day, I love them kids. They embrace me and hug me and love me like no other. I had Justin Lights, which is Chris Lights' little brother. At the time when he was 10, he was probably the best shooter in the country. You can mark my word when I say this. Justin Lights was the best shooter in the country at 10 and under.
Wow.
It wasn't even close. And so, like, you know, at the end of the day, when you look at that and you think about those rosters and those teams like that, everybody that gets lost. Like, no job is too small. I coached 10. They were 10. And now I'm mad at myself because now this how crazy of it. I'm coaching a Power 5 school, and I at least supposed to have one of them, right?
At least one. At least one.
One, right? Come on, do get a solid. But at the end of the day, I'm so proud of them. You get what I'm saying, and their accomplishments. That just seeing them reach their goals, seeing them smile, going to their places respectfully, and seeing them succeed, it's way more than getting a commitment to them for them playing for me for selfish reasons. You know what I mean?
Yep. Where is your happy place?
You know what? I think about that. I think about that a lot. You know what I mean? You know, like the cliche answer that, you know, everybody answers. My family is obviously my happy place. You know what I mean? The wars I had with my family when we played Monopoly, we had some real Monopoly wars in this house. You get what I'm saying? But like, you know, my happy place is honestly being around my family and friends. You know, eating a bushel of crabs. You get what I'm saying? Get a nice bushel of crabs, eating some crabs, listening to some music, having my family around me, playing some spades and playing some dominoes. That's my happy place.
Love it, love it. But you know what you didn't include? How you like the DJ as well.
Hey, now you know what though, Lamar. So like I got this little passion, you know what I mean? And so like with this Corona thing, now I'm banned from IG. My wife like enough is enough. You get what I'm saying? My IG lives. But you know, like I like my little rap battles. You get what I'm saying? I like me and my boy do the rap battles. I love that. So you know what? That's another happy place. Add that to my list. Definitely.
I like it. I was listening to it, so I did like.
Yeah, my battles with my boy. You know what I mean? Like we just, you know, it's something because you know you gotta find some happiness in your life sometimes, and you gotta find, like you say, a place where, and through all this madness, you gotta find a way to smile. And I know where to go to get that smile from. You know what I mean?
You look, man. You dropped some good stuff today. So I'm gonna let you. This was about yourself, but if you had to choose 3 adjectives to describe yourself, which would you choose?
You know, I think I think I'm loyal. You know what I mean? I think I'm loyal. I think I'm hardworking, and I think I'm humble. I'm as humble as they come. You know what I mean? Like for me, you know, whether or not I'm coaching in the SEC or I'm coaching in the MEAC or I'm coaching in the CAA or I'm even coaching at PG County 2 or 3A. You know what I mean? For me, like I look at everybody and treat everybody the same. You know what I mean? I never frown upon nobody. I'm always, if I can always find a way to give a dude a bone to help him reach his goal, to get to a point to, you know what I mean? Like, so for me, just being humble, man, just being humble, being loyal, and just be hard working. I think when you got that recipe, that just gives you an edge, a competitive edge, just as a person, you know?
Mm. Um, what person and or event has had the most influence on your life?
Person and or event. Whew, it's a few events for me. You know what I mean? I think marrying my wife, you know what I mean, was an event for me. You know what I mean? That just gave me inspiration. You get what I'm saying? Just knowing that I got a better half, a support, somebody that supports me, somebody that believes in me. You being in the business, the wives, your wives are important. You know what I mean? Because if they not on your team and they ain't rocking with you, you know what I mean? Like, it's a recipe for disaster. And I think like having my wife beside me through all my journeys. You know what I mean? My wife was there at Towson, here. You get what I'm saying? So like she understood the grind. And at the end of the day, she was ready to drop everything that she was doing in her life, in her personal life. And that's called sacrifice. You know what I mean? She was willing to do whatever it takes for me to get to whatever I wanted to be. And if that required leaving Washington, D.C. to come into Columbia, South Carolina, which she knew anything about, that was just her commitment to me. I think so. That was one event that, like, for me, and then it sounds like it's everybody's answer, but like watching my mom struggle. You get what I'm saying? Like watching my mom struggle. My mom worked 40, 50 hours a week for minimum wage, you know what I mean, for the last 30 years of her life. And she's still working the same job. She's still working. And I've told her on many occasions, you know what, if you want to shut it down, I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do to make sure I support you. But just to see her strength, her willingness to just fight through it, she ain't shut it down. She's still committed to the same job. And so that's where I get that commitment from. And so like when you talk about finding inspiration, all I got to do is pick up the phone and hear her voice, and then I'm automatically inspired because I watch her grind. You know what I mean? In the sixth grade, I tell my son this, in the sixth grade, it was time, it was the first day of school. She couldn't buy me no shoes. She just didn't have it. And at the time, I didn't understand. At 12 years old, I didn't understand it. She's like, I didn't. You know what? But what I did, I wore her shoes to school. It was a pair of K Swiss. If anybody remembers the DC days, it was the K Swiss. And if you know K Swiss the way I know them, the guys had the skinny tongues. The dudes, the guys had the skinny tongues, and the girls had the thick tongue. And I had the shoes with the thick tongue. You get what I'm saying? It was my mama's shoes, but that was all she had to give me. And so, like at the end of the day, I just look at her grind. Whenever an income tax check come, I remember I always look forward to February. That's when Jordan always released the Jordan. She would find a way to take out the income tax to give me a pair of Jordans that she couldn't really afford. You get what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, she went out her way to make sure that I had some happiness and I had some comfort and that I could go out. And so when I think about the people, the inspirations, she got to be number one on the list. You know what I mean? She got to be number one on the list. Her and my wife have been like, you know what I mean? Like my dad, like I said, I tell people all the time, my dad was incarcerated. You get what I'm saying? He had to do what he had to do. He tried his best, to provide. Obviously, the streets led him to incarceration. I spent most of my upbringing on Lorton visits. You get what I'm saying? Going to Lorton just to go on visits. But at the end of the day, I don't discredit him as a dad, you know what I mean? Because he tried to do what he had to do to be a dad. Unfortunately, me and my mom had to suffer in return. But it's just, I mean, we talk about social injustice now. We talk about what we're going through now. It's just sad. But at the end of the day, I found instead of being guilty and holding people responsible and playing the blame game, I use that as motivation. You get what I'm saying? I use that as motivation. I use every relationship that I ever was able to adopt, from the likes of Curtis Malone to Frank Martin to, you could just name, all the powerful people that came into my life. I use that as motivation to get to a point in my life where I can say, you know what? I earned everything I got. And nobody can make me feel any different.
That's good stuff, Bruce. This is the time I end with this question. I like asking this. I think it tells you how far you've gone. But like, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your young self to prepare for as an assistant coach?
Learn, man. I think learn. You get what I'm saying? Be open to learning. You get what I'm saying? Take advantage of every opportunity, every minute, every conversation. You know what I mean? Like, when I was young, I didn't understand the value of a relationship. You get what I'm saying? But now, as I enter, I'm entering, I'm approaching almost over 10 years. You get what I'm saying? So like my thing is like now, like value those times where you can sit beside a Mike Krzyzewski or John Calipari, or who may be just an assistant at Robert Morris right now, but will be the GM of the Denver Nuggets, or So my thing is in this relationship driven business, I think for me, the thing that I would tell my younger self is build your network, build your relationships, and explore every avenue that you can and every opportunity that you can to learn and grow in this business.
All right, Bruce, I want to thank you again for being a guest on the show and being unmasked. Anything you want to say just to end this before we end it?
No, I just appreciate what you're doing. I think, I think it's needed. I wish I could, tell my story. I think my story, my story sticks to some young buck that's 19, 20, maybe 25, that's trying to be in the college coaching. Maybe I can be an inspiration to him. I think what you're doing just opens up a platform for guys like me to have their voice be heard. And so, like, I appreciate everything you do. And like I say, in this sensitive time that we're living in, like, let's not just forget that, we got to keep grinding, man. We got to keep grinding, because, it wasn't made, the road and the path it's not just straight. It wasn't made for us to just go straight right into it. It's going to take the bumps and the bruises that come with the business. But my thing is, if you just stay committed and you keep grinding, like, there's no end. You can always keep going.
All right, there you go. You heard it from Bruce Shingler. Thank you, viewers, for watching another great show. Stay tuned for the next guest as we get them unmasked. See you next time, and stay safe.